everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is my pulls video for Auron. If you're new to the channel, I skipped the blue orbs and I'll let the gold orbs play out. And I'm going to be going in with tickets. I'm going to use as many tickets as I need to. I think I have like 400 or so in order to get Auron. I think he is an extremely good character. I think he is specially designed for Lufenia Plus just because his kit does, some of his kit does ignore defense, things like that, and he is the new, I guess you can say, Gladio. If you guys are familiar with Gladio, he uses LD, and then you start off with a skill 1, which will cover your allies. So if your allies are going to take damage, Gladio comes in place of the ally to take the damage, but then with his LD, he stops that damage from happening, he tanks it, and then he does a counterattack. And Auron does the same thing. And Auron just does a lot more damage than Gladio. I think Gladio's a bit phased out. There's a chance that you can use him maybe with like Setzer or something like that, but Auron got... I know everybody says that he didn't get a rework, but in a way, I think I could call it a rework, kind of, because instead of changing, you know, and giving maybe his S1, his S2 more hits and stuff like that, they kind of consolidated everything. They consolidated so much into his LD. His new LD Tornado, which is a 5-hit AoE split HP attack, it does it twice, so it's going to hit pretty hard. It ignores defense, which is great for Lufenia Plus. It's going to give Auron a free ability use right after, and it's going to do a bunch of things. So first thing it does for himself, it's going to give him a new buff called Time to Shape Your Stories. Now, what does that do? It's going to give him defense up 80%, since obviously he's going to be taking all the damage. HP regeneration. It's going to give him Last Stand. And also the brave damage taken minus 80% on top of already the plus 80% defense. And it's going to grant him more overflow. Then it's also going to give him like a brave gain of 20% of HP damage after his HP attacks, so he's always going to have brave on him just to keep him safe. And then when he's attacking a debuffed enemy, it's going to increase his brave damage by 50% and his HP damage by 20%. And it's also going to enable his counter attack. So already his LD is going to give him super high defense, just reducing how much HP damage he takes. Brave damage he takes, and then give him HP regeneration, and it's going to allow him to also deal again a lot more damage. Now, when you use his LD, the next thing it does is that it also gives your allies a buff called Sentinel for 16 turns. Sentinel is going to give your party defense 80%, HP regeneration, and brave damage taken minus 30%. So this is just huge because of how hard enemies hit in Lufenia Plus. And allies that have Sentinel, it's going to enable Auron to cover attacks to that member that has a Sentinel buff on them. So at that point, Auron's going to be taking the hits, then doing a counter attack. The counter attack is going to be a 4-hit AoE Brave split HP attack, and then it's going to also, I believe, heal. It's going to do 50% HP damage, then 35%, let's see. And then it's going to start, this one also ignores defense. Now, his LD and his counter both will inflict the enemies with something called Full Break. The Full Break debuff is going to increase HP damage taken by 20%, melee brave damage taken by 30%, and brave and HP damage reduction of minus 30%. And this is going to be done when you first use Tornado and anytime he uses his counterattack. So technically the enemies will always have full break throughout the entire match. Now the fact that it also, again, ignores defense is going to hit substantially hard. Now his LD pretty much is the sum of all his kit. Now the other thing that it does is that besides the full break debuff, it's going to then do melee, it's going to inflict another debuff on the enemies, which is melee resist down. So if you really think about it, he is designed to bring for you to bring melee attackers. And here I had to do the reset here because it just wasn't being just it's not being nice to me. So, yeah, I ended up having to see if resetting the banner here would allow me to get a little bit luckier, because I just was using so many tickets already, and I ended up, I think, getting it right here. Yes, so I ended up getting his LD, but that was with like over 200 and something tickets, like 240 or something like that. So not too bad. I did get his LD, but I was willing to go all the way and use all my tickets for Auron. I do think that if you're a new player to the game, you should definitely be pulling Auron, no questions asked. And so again, his LD, it does 4 things. It provides 2 buffs, one to himself, one to his to all your allies. The one to himself, defense, attack up, everything, enables a counter, and then Sentinel. The Sentinel buff to your allies, again, defense, HP regeneration, brave damage taken reduced, and it's going to allow Auron to cover the allies that have Sentinel. Then 2 debuffs to the enemies from his LD, full break. Again, it's going to increase their HP damage taken, melee brave damage taken up, and it's going to reduce their brave and HP damage that they inflict. And then on top of that, it's also going to inflict melee resistance down. So again, bring melee attackers with Auron, and you should be dealing a good amount of damage. The melee resist down gets inflicted with his entire kit, except when he uses his counter. But with his S2 and his EX, they both will inflict melee resist down. So you should always have that up. Now, the only bad thing about it is that it's not a framed buff, so you're going to have to watch out who you bring with Auron, because Auron inflicts a total of 4 debuffs. Now, the full break is going to be framed. The other 3 are not. The other 2, they're pretty good debuffs, like max brave minus 40% and initial brave minus 60%, but those are not the important ones. The important one is going to be your melee resist down. So if you push off the max brave and I brave, but you can keep the melee resist down, I think that's going to be key. His S1, it's the same as it used to be. Grants him Bushido. Also S2 grants him Bushido, but it's something he starts at the start of the match anyway. And then so you don't have to worry about really using his S1 or S2 for that. The only thing that you do get from his S2 that you don't get from his S1 is going to be that he's going to get a speed up, but you technically don't want that. You want him to, like, because he is any person that does like a counterattack, you don't want them to be taking a lot of turns. So I kind of would stay away a bit from, I guess you can say, his S2. His S1 is the one that puts the I brave down and max brave down. So you can just be, I think, spamming that or using that. And then his EX, I believe, recharges like every 2 skill uses. And his EX, you want to use it as soon as you can, because it'll provide physical attack up to your party. And that's going to be 40%. Now, this is something that you do start, though. You do start with 2 of his buffs at the start of the quest, which is his physical attack up and his Bushido. Bushido only is tied to him. It's not for the party, but the physical attack up is. So just keep an eye out. So if you're using players that take a lot of turns, you will, they'll run out of that Sentinel. Maybe they'll run out of Sentinel buff, which is going to allow Auron to cover them, but because it's for 16 turns, so you should probably still be okay. But the physical attack up, I believe it's only for 8 turns, so you do have to maybe keep that buff up on damage dealers that take consecutive turns. Aside from that, his EX does delay all enemies by 1 turn. And when you start with Auron, you're going to get free skill uses. His EX is going to be fully charged, things like that. I think that you're better off just going straight into his LD, coming back, and then using his EX. Again, you're not getting really anything from using his S1 or S2 in the beginning, at least. I mean, his S1 is the I brave down and max brave down. If you want to do that, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in the fight compared to using his LD to load him with the buffs, load him with his buff, and then your team with the Sentinel buff, and then also all of the debuffs to the enemy. So all you really have to do is push the LD button, and then Auron will take care of the rest. So good luck on the banner if you guys do pull on this banner. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what you think about the banner, if you use tickets or gems, and also check out the links in the description for Opera Omnia websites that give you a bunch of useful information, and I'll see you in the next one.